Well, good morning. I'm going to try something else here this morning. I'm going to pull in our Instagram people, checking connections, see if I've got enough bandwidth to go both places live at the same time. And thanks for joining us this morning. This is an important topic at this time of year. Overcoming depression at the holiday time. There's some mixed thoughts on people and depression and the ability to overcome at this time of year, and how some people are actually succumb to depression, and some people actually commit or attempt suicide at this time of year. But all in all, I think it's an important topic for us to discuss, because either ourselves or someone we know may be dealing with either feelings of depression or great deep feelings of depression. And I think it's always good to understand where somebody else is coming from and be able to help them at this time. So it may not be you, it may be somebody you know. Here, let me move this over here. And can everybody hear me okay? Important topic. Okay, good. Hey, yeah, can you, I turned off the fireplace so that you can't hear it. But of course you know that is, where'd it go? That is not my real living room. And for you that are watching on Instagram, I'm dual broadcasting on Instagram and on Facebook. So good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me see. Love the background. Yay! Yeah, I know. It's very festive, isn't it? Okay, good. I downloaded a new, let me get rid of the scroll. Actually, you can take that class, OBS Pros. Let me turn that off for a second. So, oh good, clear. I downloaded a new app to help me control the audio. And one of the things I was having problems with is here's the focus again, here we go, is the fact that the fireplace sounds were so loud that you couldn't hear anything else. So, yeah, that was kind of funny this morning. So anyway, I downloaded an app, and to activate the app, you're actually supposed to like reboot the computer. And I didn't reboot, but it seems to be controlling my fireplace so that you don't hear crackling. Good morning, Brandon. There's Joanne. Who do we have here this morning? And my sister Sherry, my sister Lori's over on Instagram. Victoria's here. Joanne is here. Virginia is here. Of course, Brandon, Joanne, Linda, Victoria, Teresa, good morning. Let me see. Linda, Melena made it up. Wow, you guys, this is great. So yeah, I'm just... Again, you may not be dealing with depression yourself, but again, this is the time of year when people are alone, or maybe they've lost a loved one this past year, or just they may not be feeling 100%. Hey, Tammy. Hello, Helena. Yeah, don't you like my and Brenda's here. Mary's here. Rush dishwashing just to get here in time. Fantastic. Good. Yeah, this is my Christmas background. So, of course, I have my fireplace burning in the background, which, of course, you can see is actually not really there. So that's okay, though. But anyway, so if anybody has lost somebody this past year, these are people that you want to be extra vigilant, diligent, hopeful to reach out to. And if you're watching on Instagram, I can't see as much as I can the comments. I'll be able to see you here, but I'm also over on Facebook Live. So you, and of course Periscope keeps interrupting my conversation. So, oh, Tammy says you make me smile. Thank you. That's a good way to start the day, with a smile. So if you're on Instagram, all you're seeing is a green background. And if you're on Facebook, you can see a fireplace and a Christmas tree behind me. So if you go to facebook.com/Colleen.Hammond, is where the conversation. Thank you, Kenneth. Hey, I appreciate you sharing. I know you can't share on Instagram, but I appreciate you sharing on Facebook. It's just because people will look at the topic and they'll say, well, I'm not depressed. I don't need this. But we all know someone in our life that is depressed. And the thing about depression is I was watching, do a lot of studies on the brain, because as many of you know, I had a stroke about 10 years ago. Or so. I don't remember. That's ironic. But it was an inflamed tooth. It was a impacted tooth that got infected. And the infection went into my bloodstream and infected a heart valve. And then the vegetation that grew on the heart valve flaked off and went into my brain and did some damage there. Did a bunch of invites to Facebook friends. Thank you, Sherry. And so that's what happened with my stroke. So ever since then, and of course my background was studying medicine. And so I've always been interested in how the body works and how the brain works and the chemistry of the body and that type of thing, because that was my undergrad studies was in chemistry. So I did a lot of, I've been very interested in how the brain works. So one of the things I was watching over the weekend, good morning, Jocelyn from Alberta, Canada. I don't know why I did that in a weird accent, is how the brain responds to different stimuli around us. So one of the studies, I was watching a course this past weekend on the brain, and it talked about the study that was done in 1981, talking about depression. And the study said that people, they did all sorts, it's like Prozac had just come out. They did all sorts of studies, 1981, mind you, that they showed that people who went for a walk, now we're not talking about power walking or aerobics or anything like that. People who went for a walk for about 30 minutes a day, 6 days a week. So for a total of 180 minutes a week. Hey, Lori jumped over here from Instagram. She defected from Instagram and went to Facebook. That 30 minutes a day for a total of about 180 minutes a week. Hey, good morning, Marissa. How are you? Thanks for jumping in. Hey, Dorothy's here too. 30 minutes a day, 6 days a week. So we're a total of about 180 minutes a week of just a casual walk, right? We're not talking about power walking. We're not talking about aerobics, anything like that. They had a higher recovery from depression than people who took medication. This study was done in 1981. Now, I was watching this thing on the brain because it was talking about the aging brain and how to, what happens to your brain as it ages. And it actually peaks when you're about 20 years old. That's a little freaky. But so anyway, the whole thing was on the aging brain, but one of the conversations was on depression. So I thought, wow, that's interesting. This study that was done in 1981. And now there's been all these other medications and drugs that have come out. Ken says, I know people who appear to be depressed around Christmas because get so hyped up for Christmas right after Halloween crash before Christmas arrives. So one of the things we're going to talk about is expectations, Kenneth, about what the expectations are that we have going into the holiday season and how those expectations, when they're not met, is how we can sometimes be depressed or feel sad or things like that. So this study showed that although giving the medication, there are serotonin receptors, and I won't get into the whole science behind how they work, but basically serotonin is one of those chemicals I've talked about that's in your bloodstream. And, I talk about all the time, go back and watch some of my previous shows on hormones. There's natural ways that you can release serotonin into your bloodstream. Good morning, Loretta. And what happens is that you have, like, there's a section between two nerve endings. It's called a synapse. And so this nerve ending will release serotonin, and this side of the next nerve has receptors on it that pick up that serotonin. So whatever's left in that gap, in that synapse in the middle, that's not absorbed by the next nerve, and then it shoots it down the nerve, it goes like, milliseconds, right? Whatever's not absorbed, this nerve will reabsorb, and then it'll release it again later. So the theory with antidepressants was what they'll do is not allow this nerve to reabsorb it, and they'll just leave the serotonin there. So then after, in 1981, 6 months after the study, they found that people who started taking antidepressants, about 4 weeks later, it takes a while for this to start working. And then about 6 weeks is really when they saw a major change in people who were just walking 30 minutes a day. But 4 weeks is when they saw a major change in people who were taking the medication. So, and then at the end then they studied them at 8 weeks, and then again at 12 weeks and 16 weeks. And by 12 weeks and 16 weeks, the people who were taking a medication and people who were going for a casual walk 30 minutes a day were at the same level. So 6 months later, they were going over all these results, and they said, why is it that it took 4 weeks for the medication to kick in that should have been instantaneous? Let's bring these people back in and talk to them again. So they brought the people back in from the study, and they interviewed them again, and they found that the people who were walking 30 minutes a day were so much happier with life, well adjusted, their emotional IQ, their emotional quotient, their EQ, was so much higher at 6 months later than the people who were still taking medication. And the people who were still taking medication were having problems. So they went, whoa, wait a minute. We called them back in because we wanted to find out why the medication took so long to take effect. And now that we're seeing this, we see that actually going for a walk 30 minutes a day is far more effective than taking the medication. That study was done in 1981. There have been repeated studies done since that have proven going for a walk 30 minutes a day, 6 days a week. Or then they started doing more studies like on power walking, so that when you increase your heart rate or you start lifting weights or doing things like that, it actually narrows down to 15 minutes a day, 3 to 5 days a week. So in the problem with the serotonin, receptor interferent, the antidepressants, is that it takes so much to get off of them. So it's a really, really, really important study that has been repeated numerous times, that it's far more effective to go for a walk. If you can make it 4 weeks for the pill to take effect, or 6 weeks for going for a walk to take effect, and actually the effects are shown much, much, much sooner if you increase your heart rate and do like weightlifting, or increase your heart rate 18 minutes a day was 3 days a week instead of 15 minutes. I think it was 18 minutes. So if you want to be real technical about it, do 20. So that's not going to help us get through the holidays, but from a long-term perspective, excellent, effective information. Thank you, Tammy. It's not going to help this week, and I want to talk about this week and next week. But for long-term, just know, and the really cool thing about this class that I took over the weekend was that it talked about depression is like getting a cold. Everybody will move in and out of more depressed areas in the time of our life, right? And then there's the chronic depression, which is another issue. And then there's deep depression and major depression, which can be another issue. And then you can get into mental disorders. And now we're talking about the DSM and, that kind of stuff. But to know that we all deal with feelings of being depressed or being sad. I always feel better when I lift weights, says Virginia. Yeah, I do too. And you know why? Because what happens when you lift weights, you actually do damage to your muscles. Your muscles, all those little cells in your muscles actually get damaged. So what the body does is it releases endorphins to help heal that damage. And then it keeps releasing endorphins. So it actually will release more endorphins into your bloodstream to heal that muscle damage than it really, really needs. So the endorphins will go to the muscle and start working on it. Then you have this excess endorphins flowing through your bloodstream that are feel-good, happy chemicals and painkillers. So that's why they refer to the thing as the runner's high. That can be a weightlifter's high, that can be anything, but what that is the endorphins that are released into your bloodstream because you're doing damage to your muscles. So these feel-good chemicals are released into your bloodstream to help heal those muscles, but they also do painkillers and help you feel better. Mary says, when I'm feeling down or depressed, going for a walk always makes me feel better. Yeah, absolutely. And Brandon says walking helps relieve stress and clear the mind. And they've also tied that into, it's actually better to, you can get the same results on a treadmill, but something happens when you go outside and breathe fresh air that actually increases that. We got a bunch of people jumping over from Instagram. This is funny. We have a bunch of people that when you're breathing fresh air and getting outside, it's actually even increases those endorphins and that type of thing. So actually, it was really interesting. I need to work out, but I'm not as consistent as I should be, says Jocelyn. Yeah, me too. Me too. It's one of those things that I really do. I'm going to try to get this back in focus again. It seems to be just slightly out of focus. And it could be because I have this over here. And it's kind of in the... Okay, so that's something I have to adjust. Because this is in the peripheral, my phone that I'm on Instagram on. Hi, Instagram. And I have Facebook over here. The phone that I have Instagram on is kind of in the peripheral vision of this camera. And I bet you that's why it's out of focus. So... yeah, no, there's no pretty background. Yeah, people are jumping over from Instagram to Facebook because I have a green screen, but I don't have green screen capabilities on Instagram. You can't use what I'm using over here. So yeah, interesting. All right. Fresh air and sunshine. Oops. Fresh air and sunshine, says Tasha, God's natural antidepressant. Amen. And thanks, thought I had glaucoma. No, you don't. Philip, that's funny. My sister Lori says, ever since Big Pharma has been engaged in direct-to-consumer advertising, patients have started demanding prescription drugs to fix them rather than make the lifestyle changes. They would take care of the issue. I know there's a place for pharmaceuticals, but some conditions are lifestyle changes would take care of the issue. Yeah, it's personal responsibility for sure. Sarah says, just popping in to say hi. Gotta run. My oldest just got sick again. Oh, catch the replay. I am doing pretty well. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it. So yeah, things are going pretty well. Actually, they're going really well. So feeling really good. All right, so let's talk about 10 tips. And it's so funny because now I can't see my tips because I have my Instagram camera in the way. So Instagram, I'm going to move you over here. Hold on tight. And now you get to see. If you're on Instagram, now you just got to see my really messy son's room where my computer is. There. Now I can actually see my notes. This is good. Yeah, I have friends that are doctors as well, and they'll say that people will come in because they saw a commercial. And what's funny to me is I listen to these commercials, and all the commercials do is list all the ways that this pill can kill you. You know, it's like, wow, nice. Can't wait to take that. Well, I don't think so. So anyway, so 10 tips to overcome. And remember, your brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So the things that you're thinking about will actually, your brain thinks that's actually happening right now. So, for example, if you tell, I use this example all the time, but if you tell an embarrassing story, something happened to you in your life, you'll blush again. If you think about somebody that really irritates you, you'll get angry again. And then you'll have those same feelings and emotions, and your body will react the same way again when you relive that experience in your mind, because your brain doesn't know the difference between what you're thinking about and what's really happening. So that's why the positive emotions or positive thoughts are so powerful. And somebody made a comment on my Facebook feed. I had some of the Twitter started posting stuff on my Facebook because I upgraded an app and I forgot to turn it off. And so my following on Twitter are very business oriented and that type of thing. And she's like, "Oh, you've fallen away from Catholic teaching." I'm like, wow. First of all, why didn't you come to me privately about that? And second of all, what an Evel Knievel leap based on, a positive motivational poster. I'm like, okay, no, but thanks for, thanks for caring. So anyway, it's interesting to me how people can make those judges like that. All right, so blushing, brain doesn't know the difference, and then that 1981 study. Okay, so when you're feeling really stressed, which can happen at the holiday season, because there are, like Kenneth said, there are all those expectations, and there's things that we think that this is how it should be. And so we have an idea in our mind of what's going to happen. And it's kind of this Norman Rockwell type idea of how Christmas should be, or we saw a movie, or, and this happens a lot with romance and people's expectations about relationships, because what do they see on TV? Well, they forget that very skilled writers are writing all those scripts and all those loving words that are being said are being totally scripted. So you have these expectations. And the first thing is that you have to acknowledge the feelings that you have. If you can't ignore them, there's stressors in our life, and then that's how we handle those stressors will determine whether or not we feel that stress. So there's a distinguisher between stressors and stress. So if you're feeling, you're looking at Christmas, or you're looking at this upcoming holiday, and you're feeling this sense of pressure, of expectation and that type of thing, acknowledging those stressors, acknowledging those feelings, or to be without somebody for the first time. Like when my dad passed away a few years ago, the first time my dad wasn't there for Easter, the first time my dad wasn't there in June for his birthday, the first time he didn't call me on my birthday. Whoa. Whoa, I don't know why that hit me. The first Christmas, the first Thanksgiving. So the firsts, when we don't have loved ones there, that could be a stressor, and how we handle it will be our stress, right? Praying for a stress-free day for all of us. Thank you, Valerie. So acknowledging those feelings of sadness. It's normal to feel sad. It's healthy to feel sad. I mean, if you didn't feel sad about things, there's a psychological definition for things like that and people like that. And it's okay to take a portion of time out to feel that sadness, to feel that grief, to really acknowledge it, hold it in your hand, cry about it, put an end to it, and move on, right? Because you can't force yourself to be happy, but when you ignore the sadness, there's a book that I read called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. So you can't bury those feelings, but you can't be tied into them so strongly that they control you either. So pulling them out, looking at them, acknowledging them, and the thing about holding them in your hand mentally and looking at them is it helps you separate those feelings and those emotions. Because you can't force yourself to be happy. You really can't. So number one would just to be to acknowledge that. So for yourself or somebody that you know, to be able to acknowledge those feelings. And if you're joining us on Instagram, we're talking about depression over the holidays, and I'm over on Facebook Live too. So I'm going back and forth between the two of you. And it's facebook.com/Colleen.Hammond. Spelling is the same on Instagram, but don't put the M in. So acknowledging those feelings. Second of all, be realistic. The holidays don't have to be perfect. They don't have to fulfill this ideal that we have in our mind. I just lost my comments over here. Sorry about that, Facebook. I just closed you. Place myself on the cross kneeling with Mary and my problems lighten quickly. Yeah, that's a good place to be, is at the foot of the cross. The holidays don't have to be like last year. The holidays don't have to be like you saw in the movies. The holidays don't have to be in Norman Rockwell. They don't have to be perfect. So to be realistic about that and not set these expectations, just go into it open to whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And in some temperaments, and if you're in my temperaments class, you know this, some temperaments are going to go in expecting the worst. So that's always interesting. But families change. Families grow. Even your traditions or some of your rituals will change as your family dynamic changes. If you have adult children now, maybe when they were at home, you handled things a certain way, but now that they're out of the home or they're older, you're going to handle things differently. So you can pick and choose which traditions or which rituals you want to hang on to and which ones that it's time to move ahead with. You know, you may not do stockings anymore, right? My sister Lori says tomorrow's the 6th anniversary of her husband Don's passing, and I'll have to be sad moments, but also move forward. Yeah, it's healthy. You know, like I just choked up about Dad passing 5 years ago. You're right. So, you know, I think kind of cold-hearted if we don't have a feeling of some melancholy, you know, of not having a loved one with us. So being realistic about and setting those expectations a little bit lower. If you find that every holiday you're kind of sad when the holiday's over instead of being joyful and happy, then maybe look at your expectations. What did you expect out of it? What were you thinking was going to happen? What were you hoping was going to happen? And do the people around you that you were hoping were going to do certain things even know you were hoping that they were going to do those things? Oops. Wow, that's really hard. Mary Susan says, spend less time preparing, more time playing with the kids. Yeah, no kidding. Especially when they are children. Spend more time appreciating those children's times. So don't set the bar so high. Just be realistic, and don't expect it to be perfect, because nothing's perfect. You know, matter of fact, when you go into it knowing, and we did this at Thanksgiving, and I'll do it again probably Wednesday, of the family dynamics and relationships, and knowing the cast of characters that are going to be at your Christmas Eve party or someplace that you're going to be, and knowing how to work with that. Number 4, set aside your differences. You're going to know that people are going to be there. There is going to be a cast of characters involved. Now's not the time to be confronting people, even if they confront you, right? No, Christina, it's not my house in the background. It's a green screen. If you were over on Instagram, you could see just a big green piece of cloth hanging behind me. But yeah, thank you. I wish it was. It's a video. Yeah. So, Mary says, my dear grandma passed away this summer. Yeah, I remember that. So this is our first Thanksgiving and Christmas without her. Very difficult. Yeah, it is very difficult. Lost the sound. Did anybody else lose sound? I don't know. Try refresh. Page Philip. Here we go. Set aside your grievances. Accept family members as they are. Nothing you say or do over the holiday gathering is going to change anything. If nothing you have said over the years has changed somebody else, how you respond is not going to determine anything, right? You can't change them. So now's not the time. So set aside any differences. Accept them for where they are. Know God loves them, right? And we don't have that perfect love of God, but we can certainly try. I don't know why this is still not in focus. Come on now. Follow me. I'm trying to get it to stay in focus. I'll very slowly move back, and hopefully it'll work this time. Because when I glance down to look at your comments, all I can see is my blurry face off to the left. So got it back. Good. Good. Let me see. Set aside grievances until a more appropriate time for discussion. Family gatherings are never the time. Be understanding if other people get upset. So if somebody is upset with you, just try to be a little more understanding from that point of view, especially if something doesn't work out like we all expected. A lot of times the host or hostess has expectations for the gathering, and if things don't necessarily go as planned, it's always a good story, says the sanguine portion of me. And to realize that everybody has these feelings about the holidays where we all have these expectations. So understand that tensions are maybe a little bit high for the other people that you're meeting with too. I have to remember if I'm in a situation with somebody that I'm, kind of oil and water with, they probably feel the same about me. They may have a little oil and water. Hey, good morning, Angela. They probably have, I'm over on Facebook too, so I'm dual broadcasting, and that's why you see green here. So the people may have feelings of a little anxiety about dealing with you too, so understand that tensions may be a little bit high and do what you can to lessen those. Yeah, that's why, yeah. To try to lessen those tensions. And they're dealing with stress, they're dealing with things as well. So ask them to pray for you. Yeah, we've talked about that, haven't we, Brandon? Brandon's favorite thing is when you pray for others, you're heaping coals on their head. Lori says, excellent point. We are who we are. Families give us an opportunity to love and accept each other where we are and who we are. Absolutely. Good morning from Brazil. Wanted so much. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're working on getting the book translated into Portuguese. It's already been translated into Italian and Spanish, Polish. But my current publisher does not want the book translated, so they're not releasing international rights and they're not allowing it. So anyway, email me and I'll tell you more about it. But thank you for that. Good morning, Heather. Yeah, this is my new Christmas backdrop. So, all right. So number 5, sticking to a budget. When we go into the holidays, one of the stressors can be budget. Yeah, I know, it's sad, isn't it? So, prayers. Muchas gracias. Sticking to a budget. Before sometimes we go in and we're like, oh, we're going to buy gifts for everybody at the holidays. And we want to serve the best meal we can at the holiday, and we go overboard. So that may not cause us stress during the holidays, but we'll certainly get a bit depressed about it when we get the credit card bill. So good morning, Dorothea. Thanks for joining us. So make sure you stick to that budget. If I don't have it, I don't get it. Not quite sure what you're saying, Angela. So before the holidays, make sure you establish your budget, decide how much money you can afford to spend, then stick to that because it just causes problems for yourself down the road. And remember too, some people will try to buy their own happiness. They'll feel depressed, so they think if they go out and they purchase a few things, they may feel better about the holidays. Sticking to a budget, yeah. And if I don't, sheesh. Hello, Marissa. Again, talking to Dorothea. Glad you guys are here this morning. So try some alternatives. There's also, what do they call it? And I saw this in that brain class that I took this weekend. They call it it was a really cool saying. But anyway, it's when, we talked about the runner's high, but there's also this high you get when you do acts of service and charity, where it releases these same types of endorphins. When you give a gift to somebody else, and they appreciate it, it's like you've received that gift. So you get the same chemicals released into your bloodstream. So it's called a service high, I think, or a charitable high or something like that. So when you do acts of service, you actually receive, money-wise, I don't use credit cards anymore for Christmas purchases. Very smart move, Angela. Very smart move. Yeah. And if you're just joining us on Instagram or on Facebook, we're talking about getting through. I know because Facebook is easier because you can title it. Instagram, you can't. We're talking about depression through the holidays and how the holidays can sometimes cause depression. And we're actually on number 5. So, yeah, try the alternatives of donating. Give homemade gifts if money is tight. Start, a Secret Santa or a gift exchange or something like that. But sticking within your budget. I know my daughter had at her work, they had their Christmas party yesterday, and they had Secret Santas and a minimum $15. I've never heard a minimum set on purchasing gifts. I've always heard maximums, but no minimums. So they had a minimum $15 spend, which I thought was interesting. Okay, number 5 is planning ahead. Set aside your time. And I talk about this all the time when I work with people or anybody that I coach or my mentees about how to schedule your time. That you set your calendar first. So you set down and you cross off family time. This is where I'm going to be at work. This is, then here's my personal time. Here's my prayer time. Here's my meditation time. Here's my go for a walk 30 minutes a day time. Here's you set out all your time. And then what's left over, you take that and work in, okay, when am I going to go this special shopping? Or when am I going to, do my menu planning or, and then, so planning ahead will help you deal with these feelings of depression too. So set aside those times ahead of time, because this is, sometime you may go visit friends, or a time that you may go special shopping, or any baking time. So make sure you plan that into your time so that it's not going to shock you or stress you or come up out of nowhere. Let me see. Making sure if you are the one that's hosting, make sure you line up help. We have some more people join us on Instagram. We're talking about depression in the holidays, and I'm also over on Facebook Live. So if you go to facebook.com/Colleen.Hammond, that's where we're live, where I can see a lot of the comments. And you can see a beautiful fireplace and a Christmas tree behind me. Spiritual bouquets and gifts for people who appreciate that. That's a beautiful idea. Offering, especially if you don't have it within your budget to spend a lot of money, you can have special prayers said for people and let people know that you're praying for them. It's a beautiful idea, Dorothy. Thank you for sharing that. Number 7, here's a biggie. Learn to say no. Actually, you know what? I forgot my graphics. Here we go. Forgot to put that in. Learning to say no. Saying yes when you should say no is a huge stressor and can lead to depression. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, good tips. Let me see. Saying yes when you should say no can make you feel resentful sometimes. When you say yes to somebody and then you start feeling overwhelmed and things are getting out of control, this can lead to feelings of depression. Marissa says I try to do that, but sometimes it's hard to stick to the plan. Oh, it's always hard for me to stick to the plan. And learning to be a little bit flexible when things don't exactly go as planned. It is a hard one too. Friends and colleagues, if they have any sense of human compassion whatsoever, will understand if you can't make a commitment. It's okay to say no. It's okay to have that self-care and to set those boundaries, to know what you have time for, what you're capable of, and what you're not capable of. Obviously, if your boss asks you or someplace, there's some things that you can't say no to. But those things that you do have control over, make sure that you do set your boundaries. There's Angela. She came over from Instagram. Yeah, see, it looks a little different than it does over on Instagram, doesn't it? Isn't this prettier than the green? Yeah. So, and yes, of course, that's my OBS class. So I'll teach you how to use OBS and do this. Oh, I see where now I have to move the graphics over. Okay. Because it looks like the number of people active is right over the top of the graphic. So maybe if I move that graphic over just a bit. So learning to say no. And then number 8 is don't abandon your healthy habits. Because sometimes we get so caught up, oh, well, it's just the holidays. Did this go to, yeah. It's the holidays, and then you have that post-holiday 10, 20 pounds that you've gained. That's no fun. Talk about leading to feelings of depression, right? And also depression has been linked directly to sugar and grain intake. There is something about people who have more of a tendency to be depressed that they cannot process the sugars and the grains as well as other people. So I thought that was really powerful. Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, good. So I thought that's really powerful as well, to know that there's veggie, absolutely. So there is a direct link with certain metabolisms and certain body types where they just can't handle the sugar and the grains, especially wheat. So, hey, Peachy, thanks for joining us on Instagram. We're talking about depression in the holidays. I'm also over on Facebook Live. So don't let the holidays become a free-for-all, especially when it comes to sugar. And that people who have any type of addictive personalities in their background, there's a there's a thing called THIQ, thick, that they have found in people that tend to have addictive personalities where, I won't even get into that. When we talk about addiction and dealing with addiction and people in our families who may have addictions, whether it be to drugs, alcohol, food, sex, whatever, they have this thing called thick in their bloodstreams that other people, so their livers don't process as well. Yeah, so sticking to vegetables and proteins, Brandon, absolutely. So when we talk about that, I'll actually bring an expert on. He's one of the leading experts. He's a friend. One of my best friends, Mary Lou, married this guy. And he heard one of the talks I was given, and I mentioned thick in this conversation. He came over, he goes, how did you know about that? So I have addiction in my family. And I researched it and I found it out. He's one of the leading researchers on it. And he's somebody I'll bring in as an interview to interview an expert. Jocelyn says, I believe it. We have to cut back. Yeah, I have to cut back on sugar. Some livers just can't process it properly. And then if you overindulge, what happens is you feel guilty and then you're depressed. So it just makes it worse. And then if you have any blood sugar issues, you get this rush of sugar and then your body produces all this insulin and then it gets rid of all the sugar and then so if you have any hypoglycemia or anything like that in your family, sugar even makes it worse. So don't go overboard on the sweets or the grains or anything like that. And this is a time of year also that we don't get a lot of sleep. So not getting good sleep can also lead to feeling depressed. Sleep on it, you'll feel better in the morning. There's a reason you say that, for 2 reasons. Number 1, you need your rest. And number 2, your subconscious mind works through it overnight. While you're sleeping, your brain is still thinking about it. And it may have come to some conclusions while you were sleeping so that you wake up, you feel better about things. Part of it's the sleep, part of it's a blood sugar thing, part of it's that your brain was working overtime for you and actually thinking about these things overnight. And make sure you get, like we said right at the top, get a little bit of physical exercise inside every day. And there's that app. It's a 7-minute workout by Johnson & Johnson called the 7-Minute Workout by Johnson & Johnson that you can download. And it gives you 7 random things to do to exercise for 7 minutes. So even just that little bit will help. Number 9. Let me go over here to number 9. Take a breather and get some time alone. Holidays can get so overwhelming because people are around us all the time. Thammy. Thanks for joining us on Instagram. We're also over on Facebook Live discussing depression at the holidays. So making time for yourself and setting your boundaries and having that self-care. I talk about that all the time. You know, first act of charity is to the person in the mirror. Find something that reduces your stress. What do you like to do that's a stress reliever for you? Hypoglycemia. There you go, Mary. I know all about that. Sometimes just spending 15 minutes alone is enough. Sometimes just that 15 minutes can be enough to take the edge off, you know, just to get a breather, especially if you tend to be a little bit more introverted. And we talk about, well, we haven't talked about it yet in our 4 temperaments class, but we're getting to that. Playing guitar, there you go. Victoria, that's what you do. I like to read. I just like to meditate. Sometimes I just need to be alone and have absolute silence for a few minutes. I do a power nap in the afternoon. I couldn't make it through the day without my power nap. There's a good siesta. And again, that Pizziz app will walk you through a nice power nap in the afternoon. Find things that stress. Maybe a stress reliever for you is certain types of music that will help you relieve your stress. Taking a walk, engaging some. Getting a massage. I'm looking at my notes. Getting a massage, reading a book. There are different things that people like to do to help relieve that stress. So anything that you can do to take a breather, to walk away, to get some time alone, to regroup, because it's more important now at this holiday time because there are all these external demands that are being put on us and things that we put on ourselves as well. Complete quiet time, says Angela. Yeah, working into power naps. Ooh, I love my power naps. And if you're not familiar with that Pizziz app, it does a really, it'll you put on your headsets or you just listen to it on your phone on the app, and it'll walk you through going into a power nap. So it's so much so now that when I start listening to it, immediately I can go right into my power nap and get a good 20-minute nap, good solid 20-minute nap. And then, of course, which app do I use? Here it is. I think it's P-Z-I-Z-Z. Apps. There we go. And let me see if I can find, yeah, here's the link. It's Pizziz.com, so that was easy. This is it right here. It's free. I pay for the upgrade. I do not know why that person's face is on there. There's actually no photographs on the website. That's pretty funny. Oh my gosh. It helps to be on the water. Yeah, there's a lot of studies that show that being on the water is very helpful as well. So that's one of the reasons when I meditate in the mornings, I listen to ocean waves, which is soft waves just kind of crashing on the beach. If you're joining us on Instagram, we're talking about dealing with depression on the holidays, and I'm also dual casting over on Facebook Live. And if you're on Facebook Live, you'll see a beautiful fireplace and a Christmas tree behind me. Right now, you're just seeing my green screen. And thanks for the hearts. I appreciate it. So there's that Pizziz app for sleep, energy, naps, and all that kind of stuff. And then number 10. Number 10 is seek professional help if you need professional help. It's okay to ask a professional for some help. If you don't have somebody in your life that you can speak to, then there are other places you can go, and there is a hotline that you can talk to. It's the Lifeline Crisis Chat. And it's not like, oh, suicide prevention, it's a really bad thing if I call. And thanks so much for the hearts. But that number, because you can't see it on Instagram, so you can call 911 if it's an urgent situation. They're set up to handle that. But also calling this Lifeline Crisis Chat is 800-273-TALK, T-A-L-K. So it's 800-273-8255. That number again, 800-273-8255, if you need some help. Don't be afraid to ask for it. There's people there. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. If you're too embarrassed to talk to a family member or a friend, call them. That's why they're there, and they're professionals, and they're going to be very empathetic. They're not going to be in a hurry. If you call a friend, they might be in a hurry. They're there to help you for free. I mean, this is not like scheduling an appointment with a shrink or anything. If you have a crisis you're going through at the time, reach out and ask for some help. And if you don't feel comfortable asking for help to the people around you, call the chat line and talk to somebody there. No one's going to know. It's purely anonymous. Sneak into the corner office, go into wherever, wherever you need to go. Reach out and ask for some help. You live on the water? Oh gosh. Lighting the fire pit in cold weather. That's fun too. Veterans Hotline. Yeah, there you go. There's another one. And there's a Veterans Hotline as well. So let me show you these 10 tips. Again, all at once. First and foremost, just acknowledge your feelings. Feelings are neither right nor wrong. They simply are. Reach out. There's people in your life. And if there's not, there's that 800 number. Oh, it should have been put on that slide. If you're feeling lonely, isolated, reach out to your community. Either you have a religious community or any types of social events and that type of thing. Volunteer your time, because you can get that volunteer high as well if you reach out. Valerie Lynn says, thanks so much for doing this, Colleen, and sharing the hotline number. Yeah, that's right. I do know. Thanks, Valerie. I appreciate that. Also, number 3 is being realistic. Holidays don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be like last year. Don't set those expectations in your mind so high that, if last year was a crisis and you're like, oh, this year's going to be better. It might not be. It's okay. It'll give a great story to tell, right? So just have a few traditions. Maybe your life has changed. You have different traditions that move in and out of your life. That's okay. If you don't do certain traditions, don't pressure yourself. Well, every year we always do blah, 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 and we didn't do it this year. That's okay. It's all right. On number 4, setting aside your differences, just accept people where they're at. Holidays are not the time to have these discussions. They're not the time to solve lifelong problems, right? Set aside grievances, and also remember that if you're oil and water with somebody, they may be oil and water with you. And understand if other people get upset. Understand if other people are a little bit distressed. Thanks for the hearts. I appreciate that. And thanks for the love. Number 5 is sticking to a budget. Before you do it, set aside the money and set aside the time that you want and stick to that. Don't try to buy happiness. Don't try to buy people's love. Donate to charity, gift homemade gifts, start a family exchange, gift spiritual bouquets, pray for people, let them know you're praying for them. Number 6, planning ahead, set aside, make your plan, and try to stick to it as much as possible. Number 7, learn to say no. Have your self-boundaries, engage in self-care, know your limits, stay within them. Friends and colleagues are just going to understand. It's not possible, obviously, with some people, but set your limits and learn to say no and engage in self-care, set your boundaries. Number 8, don't abandon healthy habits. Maintain some healthy habits, because sugar and grain is directly linked to depression. Number 9, make sure you take a breather. Get some time alone if you need it. Plan that in as well. It could be 15 minutes alone. It could be special music you listen to. It could be going for a walk, reading a good book, getting a massage, going and helping somebody. That may help you feel better too. And of course, seeking help. And I'm going to take this phone number and put it in the chat area as well. There is a crisis line, that Lifeline Crisis Chat. There are people there that are available to chat and chat with you. So don't let the holidays become something you dread, right? Take steps to prevent the stress and depression that comes with our expectations. That's where a lot of this comes from, is our expectations. Recognize your holiday triggers. Maybe it's a financial pressure. Maybe it's a person. Maybe it's your own personal demands. So that you recognize that ahead of time so you can avoid the pressure, avoid the meltdown. So just get some good planning, a little bit of positive thinking, and this could be a perfect time of year for you take advantage of the love and the joy that's available, that is out there for us and that's out there for you, and look for that beauty in the little things, and the gratitude and the love. I mean, this is focused on the Christ child and the reason for the season. And don't get so caught up with the things that are going on around you that you miss out on that joy, that you miss out on the love and the beauty that's there for all of us to tap into. I've got a coffee cup in front of the time. Oh, 50 minutes. Okay. Brandon's always on me about my time. So let's get some prayer requests going in here. Let me go open my prayer request page over here. And I hope this helped. If you felt that this was something that was helpful, I am going to be posting it on my Facebook page, and I'm sorry, on my blog, on my personal page. It's also going to be uploaded to YouTube, I think, and other places. So if you felt this was helpful, say a prayer for me, please. Pay with a prayer, and share it if somebody else could benefit from it. My sister Lori, of course, always my big supporter. Great information, Colleen. Timely topic. Thanks for bringing this to the forefront. Mental illness still holds a stigma. Yes, it does. The more it's discussed, the less stigma will be there. Absolutely. I encourage long shows, says Brandon. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. All right, let's go over to these prayer requests. As you guys start putting in your own. For a healthy delivery for a friend's baby today, says Dorothy. We had a lot of prayer requests on the private group. For everyone to know and love God, especially this holiday season, for all of our families to fall in love with the baby Jesus, for mercy and grace to get my soul to heaven, for, let me see, for a good day today. Oh, it's her birthday. That's fantastic. Thanks again for your wonderful info. Prayers for you. Thank you, Virginia. Prayers for John Veneri, my dear, dear friend John, who has cancer. My dear, dear friend John, and Susan and the children. Jocelyn for homeschooling and parental rights in Alberta, St. John's Parish, my son's violin shop, for the protection and salvation of friends and family, for Colleen. Woo woo! Love you, Colleen, says Mary. Love you too, Mary. Thank you for always doing this. Appreciate it greatly. Thank you. I love that you're here. I appreciate you being here. Lauren says for preemie twins and toddler, they stay healthy for this strong this flu and RSV season. For a special intention, for a friend who was originally pregnant with quads, lost one, and had to have an emergency delivery of the other 3 last night. And the 3 were born alive at 27 weeks. Wow. Also for a friend who has severe burns from an explosion in their kitchen. Wow. For a nephew overseas with a possible pneumonia and his mom can't get in touch with them. Pray for them both. For a special intention. For a very special intention for someone else. For hubby to do well in school. He starts in January. God's will be done in whatever job he has in store for my hubby. Thank you, ladies. Your intentions are in my prayers as well. Heather says for her son's back to be healed. Ouch, I have back problems. My daughter has 2 ruptured discs. I totally relate. Conversion for my sister. Peace. Oops. Peace during the holidays. Clarity for a family member. Colleen's health. Thank you. Lily's headaches. Brandon, poor man. Thanks, Colleen, says Lori. This is so helpful. Love the morning chats. Me too. Thanks, Colleen, says Angela. Very encouraging. Good. Thank you. Carry on to quickly get through the stomach bug and the fever that's going through the house. Sorry, Carrie Ann. Carla says for a friend who lost his wife and their first baby last night. Is this someone I know? I haven't seen this. Dorothy Louise asked for a special intention for herself. Carla, that's awful. Last night, the week before Christmas. All right, so this information was really pertinent for you to really be able to focus on them and be there for them. Ouch. Mary says for my family, especially one of my brothers, and for his health. So, of course, if you're watching on the replay, just continue to add those in. Valerie Lynn says for all those suffering from depression and sadness. For those traveling, for our servicemen and women who are away, and for all those who are lonely, and for Colleen and all she gives us. Thank you, Valerie. I appreciate that very, very much. And again, if you're watching on the replay and this is something that you liked and you think that somebody else may either that is suffering through depression or may know someone in their life who's dealing with depression at this time, in this holiday time, please feel free to share this. They're from Minnesota. My sister Lori, who's here, is in Minnesota. So yeah, so sad. Actually, so sad. Oh, I got the graphics going above. Yeah, if you want to know how to do this and work with the green screen and all that kind of stuff, let me give you. I haven't deactivated the coupon. This class is $47, and the coupon's actually still active. And it's PTC20. If you want a 20% discount, 20% off using coupon code PTC20 at bit.ly/OBSPROS. There we go. Susan says, how timely. My mom was killed in a car accident last Christmas. Oh, Susan, I'm so sorry. Gosh, and it just is one of those times of years. I know, yeah. I think we all know there's somebody that's passed right around the holiday time. And it just compounds the pain. So, yeah, especially when it's a mom. Yeah. In a car accident, because those things that are so sudden. I know when my dad passed from cancer 5 years ago, we had a 5.5 month notice. And those are 5.5 months I'll always treasure. The time I had together with him, going to mass and praying with him and being able to be with him and being with him at the moment of his death was one of the most beautiful and faith-filled experiences I've ever had. But when you have a car accident and you lose someone so suddenly, there's that sense of loss that is compounded by the fact that it was so sudden. So I'm very, very sorry for your loss, and I know how hard the holiday times can be. So thank you so much for sharing that, because I know other people will appreciate knowing that as well. So anyway, so let's wrap it up. I have bunches of videos for people that are in my OBS class. I'm adding all sorts of material and videos today. So if you're in my OBS class for OBS Pros, those videos have been edited, and all of them, I think, hopefully have been edited, but I'll start uploading them right as soon as I get off the show. So you can log into your membership area, and those new videos on set design and TV tips and fast start program and all that will be available probably by noon. So some of it's already there. All right. So anyway, totally relate and appreciate the last few months with someone. Yeah. Yeah, it really was a blessing. It was a blessing. It wasn't a long, prolonged cancer suffering thing. It was long enough, but it wasn't something that went on for years and years and years. And then my friend David Dubay, who is here sometimes in the morning, just a wonderful man. He does some great work. They just found out that the treatments that his mom's getting isn't going to work, so they're just going to stop doing the treatments. And I don't know what the time frame is that they gave her, but it's like, it's overrun your body. It's just not going to do any good. We can continue to do the treatments and add a month to your life, or, type of thing. So prayers for my friend David Dubay and his mom as well. So, all right, let's wrap things up and get out of here. Let me say goodbye to Instagram first. Thank you for joining us on Instagram. I appreciate all the hearts and the love that you were sharing over here. I'm sorry if you're just logging in. Carolyn, we're wrapping up our discussion on depression in the holidays. So, yeah, I think I'm going to start dual casting like this, and we'll see how the Wirecast worked with Periscope. I don't think it didn't seem to activate. So anyway, I'll say goodbye, and God bless you, and thank you here on Instagram, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye. There we go. End live video. Done. Too much coffee, not enough Monday. Now let's see what happens when I move this, because this is my little rig for Instagram over here. Now let's see what happens to the focus. Did it change my focus? Didn't seem to. So now I have to do some camera settings. Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, that was it. Okay. And I have 17 messages now to go read in the past hour. So if you send me, see, this is what happens. If you send me a message on Instagram or through my private messages on Facebook, there's a good chance I'm not going to see it, because in the past hour, I've gotten 17 private messages. So if you really want to get a hold of me, email me, because then it'll stick in my inbox and it'll still be there, and I can go back and refer to it. So try beta glucan. What is that, Philip? I don't know what that is. What would that be for? All right. So anyway, I need to scoot out of here because I got a lot of work to do. So very happy Monday. Thanks for being here. And we'll be here again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. in London, midnight in Melbourne, Australia. And I don't know what the topic is for tomorrow morning. I have Wednesdays done. I don't have Tuesdays done. So, and again, we were talking about overcoming depression over the holidays. I hope that list was useful for you. When I post it on my blog, I'll actually put the entire list, and my show notes will be posted over there too. But I will also come back and put that link here in the comments area for this show as well. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow morning. God bless you today and always. Bye now.